this kind of I went into kind of a little rabbit hole today, and I thought I'd share some of this with you. It started with just a post by the latest interview of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson interviewed Mother Agapia Stephanopoulos. And she just goes on a rant about the horrible treatment that Christians get in Israel, and how Israel just discriminates against Christians and oppress the Christians, and how Israel runs an apartheid system and everything. And this is just so detached from reality. I've talked about apartheid in Israel, and the complete fiction that constitutes. I gave the example of my mother being in hospital and her doctors being Arabs, and her sharing a room with Arabs, and the whole thing is bizarre. People either don't know what apartheid is, they don't know what Israel is, or they're just plain lying. And I think for most people, claiming Israel is an apartheid state, it's just them just lying. They are blatantly lying about what is going on in Israel, and she is lying. This woman is lying. Mother Agapia is lying about the condition of Christians in Israel. Christians in Israel do better than in any other country in the Middle East, and they are treated as equal citizens. They, indeed, as I've said many times, in many respects, they are treated better than the Jewish citizens of Israel, because they don't have to go to the army. They don't have a draft imposed on them. Only Jews, well, only secular Jews really, or non-ultra-religious Jews, have a draft imposed on them. She's claiming that Christians are treated better in Muslim countries. How is that possible when the Christian population in every Muslim country is declining dramatically, and the Christian population in Israel is increasing significantly because they're having babies? And they're not being discriminated against, so they're not leaving, whereas the Christians of Lebanon, of Syria, of Iraq have all left. Even in Egypt, which has a large Copt population, Christian, they're leaving. They're leaving because they're being discriminated against. So the only explanation for this kind of lying, this out-and-out deception, this out-and-out, making up of the facts, is that these people are anti-Semitic, and Tucker just hates Jews, and he keeps repeating it, and he keeps going after it, and he's already an apologist for the Holocaust, he's an apologist for the Nazis, and he just repeatedly engages in interviews with people who present falsehoods about Jews and conspiracy theories based on the idea that Jews are evil. Somehow from that, I got to this guy called Joel Webon. Joel Webon is the president and founder of Right Response Ministries. He's a senior pastor at the Covenant Bible Church, which is located, I guess, in the north side of Austin, Texas, of all places. So he's a minister. He's a senior pastor. I don't know what the difference is between a pastor and a minister of this, evangelical church in Texas. Anyway, this guy is a piece of work. One of his missions in life is to try to get rid of Jews in America. Jews in America are an evil force. They exploit Christians by charging them usury. They are responsible for the porn industry. And they have an allegiance to Israel that goes beyond their allegiance to the United States. So they are responsible for the fact that the United States supports Israel. And this guy looks normal. He speaks, he's very articulate, and he's soft-spoken, and he's not some raving nutcase. And he has proposed a plan to humanely remove Jews from America by pressuring them to self-deport. And the way to do that is to oppress them religiously. That is, to make it impossible for Jews to practice Judaism or to practice Judaism openly in the United States, and make the United States much more explicitly a Christian nation. This is, of course, part of the whole Christian nationalist. He's part of the Christian nationalist agenda. His plan is also to make dual citizenship illegal. So if you have an Israeli citizenship and a U.S. citizenship, you have to choose, and he hopes that the Jews choose the Israeli citizenship and therefore leave the United States. He also wants to make the porn industry illegal, that is, ban pornography in the United States. Well, that'll force all the Jews to leave because the Jews are behind pornography, supposedly, which is a complete BS idea. And ultimately, and then he wants to make usury illegal. Usury means, I guess, excess interest. And of course, Jews make their money in America through usury, through, I guess, exploiting the Christians by charging them very high interest rates. So if we can make usury illegal, we can kick out the Jews that way. I mean, he very much sounds like a 1930s Nazi. They didn't start out with concentration camps and murder. Their initial ideas were to just find a way to get the Jews to self-deport, to make their lives so horrible in Germany that they would all leave. I mean, this isn't, again, this is a pastor at a big, I think, big, successful church. And, you know, he's not some wacko on the fringes. He is part of a movement. He defines himself, he proclaims himself and defines himself as a Christian nationalist. He wants and believes that this country needs to be a Christian country. It needs to emphasize its Christian roots. I mean, I find this interesting. What are the Yoram Chazonis of the world going to think of this? You know, Yoram Chazoni, an Israeli Orthodox Jew, who really founded and has spearheaded the National Conservative movement. As the National Conservative movement gets taken over by Christian conservatives who don't want Jews anyway, how's that going to play out? Now, he says that while the Founding Fathers largely held positive views about Jewish Americans in the colonial era, you know, because the Bible is in Hebrew and, you know, they were real Christians, right? You know, they also believed that the country was basically a Christian country, and what he wants is to ban Jews from holding any public office, ban Jews from voting. He said Jews cannot hold public office. I'm quoting him. They can live here, and they can live here peacefully, and all these kinds of things. But no, this is a Christian nation, and those who reject Christ and hate Christ, they can be in the car, and we shouldn't mistreat them, but they don't get to drive. He says, it's okay to have a country. Listen to me, Christian. You're allowed to have a country. You are. It is okay to say, no, this country, this nation is for us and our posterity. It's not for Hindus, it's not for Muslims, and it's not for Jews. It belongs to Christians. This is the Christian nationalist movement. I'll just note that, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has praised, has identified himself as a Christian nationalist, has praised the communion of Reform evangelical churches, which defines itself as Christian nationalists. Now, they are not anti-Semites, and they do not believe in discriminating against Jews, but they do believe in America being a Christian nation. And they're skeptical about the idea of women voting. Definitely skeptical about the idea of women voting. So there's disagreement among the Christian nationalists about whether to deport or to encourage self-deportation of Jews or not. About women, they pretty much share the idea that, yeah, women voting is not a great idea. Hegseth is Secretary of Defense in the United States, not some marginal character. This is kind of scary stuff when you think about Christian nationalism is not, it's not a trivial, it's not a marginal sect within the nationalist movement. It is a major thrust of the national movement. Anyway, I thought I'd end with the Candace Owens tweet. It's always good to end with the Candace Owens tweet. This one not explicitly anti-Semitic, but we all know Candace. Candace writes, "Someday people will realize that the Enlightenment was actually a Freemasonic darkening of mankind. They have been lying about science, technology, and most importantly, our history. Artificial intelligence is their next big effort." I didn't know that artificial intelligence was a Freemasonic darkening of mankind. Did you guys know this? I mean, the right is nuts. These people are completely insane. One of the people responded to her tweet saying the Enlightenment was a con job by secret elites rewriting history to suit themselves. Now they're pushing AI as the next chain to lock humanity down. And Candace responds, correct. All right, anyway, people are nuts. We've got anti-Semites to the left of us and anti-Semites to the right of us. And anti-Semitism is clearly growing in influence in the United States. There's no question about that, because it's on both sides. It's Bernie Sanders Bernie Sanders of course is Jewish, with his just obscene hatred of Israel and support of Hamas. And on the right, you've got Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and these religious nuts and the Christian conservatives. And really what you're seeing come together is really Leonard Peikoff's prediction in the dim hypothesis. You're seeing the nationalists and the religionists unite under Christian conservatism. And then the question is, to what extent can they actually find a political leader who can actually take it to the next step and dominate this country? But that is the scary part. That is the really scary part.